Knows what it was. Some crazy, like, federal office. And he came down to my company. We did some commercials, and I became friends with this guy. I did not realize at the time that he was going to be charged with a felony, and so I'm unfriending him. I'm blocking him. I just want to give him one last chance to redeem himself here at the Eastside Republican Club. Let's hear it for Tim Hazeldo. He's also the Island County Republican chairman, by the way, ex-chairman.
Well, I appreciate it. You can just leave that in there, because if I don't bring notes with me, well, first of all, I don't mind you speaking for a little longer. That was awesome, because I'm not going to need the hour and a half that Doug gave me. just so you guys know. And since we're all being funny here, easy killer from the island. So, since we're throwing jokes out there, you guys all remember the Knights of the Round Table, right? King Arthur and all that? Yeah? All right, cool. So what do you call a big fat knight around the round table? You're killing me. Circumference. All right. You were supposed to just let everybody else wonder for a minute. But yeah, you know what? A couple of things. First of all, my name is Tim Hazeldo. I appreciate the intro. Guys, I've been around for a while. I was in the Navy for 21 years. I've been government contracting ever since. I tell people all the time that my country has given me the privilege, the honor to go and see and do things that every one of you should be able to go and see and do. Every one of you. But with that price comes seeing and doing things that nobody should ever have to do. And so with that being said, I used to tell people all up till about 2 months ago that unless I'm being shot at, I have no stress. And then came the felony charges and the stress. So there's a lot to be talked about there. I want to touch on a couple things. Lois, I'm going to tell you right now what you're doing is imaginably great for the troops. Yeah. I can't tell you how many socks, how many Girl Scout cookies, how many just snacks in general, even letters from people like you that came to us in Kandahar and Leatherneck and Bagram and places in Iraq, and even during the first Gulf War. I'm not trying to date myself, but back in those days we were getting things from the American people too. And it's just a privilege to be from such a patriotic country and a patriotic place. So those are all important things to remember. So I'm going to put my glasses on because now I'm getting old. I'm going to tell you guys a little story. Starts up in Island County. Actually, starts a few years back when I came back from Afghanistan in 2015. I'd been gone for about 3.5 years, and I didn't recognize what I came back to. It was the end of the Obama years, and things had changed. I was gone, like I said, for about 3.5 years. Came home for a month a year during that period of time to visit my wife and kids. And I was wondering to myself, what can I do? What can I do to make a difference? How can I make a change? And you know what I came up with? And I'm not encouraging any of you to do this. I ran for Congress. In a blue district. And, we worked hard. You helped out a lot. There's a few of you in here that helped out a lot. We ended up getting more votes in that blue district than any other Republican had ever gotten. Wow. And that was a nobody coming from Afghanistan and wanting to make a change. Since then, I've been the chairman of the Island County Republican Party. I've served on a bunch of different boards. I've spoke to a bunch of different organizations. I'm currently the state committeeman of Island County. But things have changed. Lawfare's in play now, right? Yeah. Things have changed. So I'm going to tell you this little story. And this story is not about me, but it's a story about us. It's a story about who we should be. And take it to heart, but don't dwell on it too much. But here's the facts. It's a story about standing in the gap, about the space between nonsensical and common sense. It's a story that describes the difference between the letter of the law and the intent of the law. Believe me, two vastly different things for the average American. It's a story of the difference between leadership and following. That's a big story to talk about as well. So I'm going to get into it. In October of last year, 2024, mind you, the Island County Auditor decided that we had to wear masks to be election observers. They were asking people to leave. They weren't letting people in. If you refused, or if you even questioned the authority of the Island County Auditor to do this, you were escorted out by the sheriff. Pretty crazy, right? 2024. I mean, I never would have thought that. And so, you know, and think about this. Who does that disproportionately affect? The liberals or the conservatives? Conservatives. Yeah, right? Because we're not going to wear a mask anyway. And I don't want to sound like a jerk or anything, but I didn't wear a mask even during COVID. It didn't matter. And I did get a vaccine during COVID. I'm not blaming anybody who did. If you did, good on you. That's your choice. But guess what? Choice. Your choice. We actually sued the Navy and the Department of Defense in my office on NAS Whidbey Island. And we were about to go to the 9th Circuit when the 7th Circuit ruled in our favor and we didn't have to go, and I got my $5,000 deposit back from a kind lawyer that was helping us out. So that was the one. But I get off on these little tangents. With that said, as the chairman at that point in time of the Island County Republican Party, it kind of falls on me to step in that gap. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm not shy. And so there I went. I've stepped in the gap before. I've stood between the sheriff and people who weren't doing anything wrong. I've stood between the politicians and the people, and I'm doing it again today, and I'll do it again tomorrow. So what we did was we sent letters to the auditor's office. We sent letters to the commissioners, the county. We even tried to ask questions in person. We had hundreds and hundreds of phone calls. It got to the point where we finally served them with a cease and desist letter. Guess what we got from that? Not even the courtesy of a response. Not even the courtesy of a response. So we had to move forward. So on the day before election, Monday, I went in. I signed in. This is important, right? I signed in. I acknowledged the written rules, which don't say anything about wearing a mask, I might add. I can supply you guys with a copy of that at some point in time if you want. I did see a little sign on the door that says mask required in the ballot counting room. I figured, you know what? We're going to go in there and sit down and watch some ballot processing. So I went in there and sat down. I was probably there 10, 15 minutes maybe, and Michelle comes in and she says, Tim, I know Michelle, she's the office manager, and I'm not saying anything bad about these people. It was a bad decision made based on bad information. I'm not going to use my Navy language. by people who don't have the fortitude to stand up. That's what it was. So I'm not going to say anything bad about these people until I get to the political prosecutor, which we'll get to. So I went in there, 10 or 15 minutes later, she comes in and says, hey, you got to wear a mask or you got to go. I said, Michelle, come on. Famous words of Joe Biden, right? Come on, man. Ain't you talked to Corn Pop about this? So I told her, I said, look, there's no health issues. There's nothing going on. We're the only office in the entire country, I looked, that's requiring a mask. What gives? Why? Who gives you the authority to do this? What RCW, which law, which legislation gives you the authority to do this? And she couldn't come up with anything. You know what she told me? It's the rules. It's the rules. How many times have we heard that, right?
Sit in the back of the bus.
Sit in the back of the bus, that's right. And so this is what I told her. Now, mind you, you guys can watch the police video. I put it out. Everybody can see it. I think Brandy Cruz put some snippets out. I think Como News put some snippets out. I'm willing to furnish that to anybody who wants to see it. I wasn't confrontational. I kindly sat there and shook the officer's hand, which, mind you, we're not wearing masks either. that was interesting. Okay, all right. Citizen arrest, that's right. So I shook their hands, we introduced ourselves. I knew one of the guys because I've lived there for 30 some odd years and know pretty much all those guys. And I said, you know what, I think I just want to sit here quietly and exercise my First and 14th Amendment rights. And I want to watch this election processing. How hard can that be? Now, mind you, I was sitting there quietly, and ballots were being counted, and people were doing their thing. And there was a little old lady, bless her heart, over there with her mask down around her nose so she could breathe. And there was a couple others with their little masks on, breathing like turtles, right? And I felt bad for these people. It was terrible. But it's the rules. And what do we do as Americans? We follow the rules, don't we? Well, yeah, don't get me started on that. So the sheriff shows up. I explained to the sheriff my concerns. Sir, I don't think they have the authority to give these rules. I don't think they can do this. I just want to sit here and quietly observe. He said, no, you got to go. I said, if I'm not breaking a law that's going to get me a citation of some kind, I would prefer to sit here. He said, citation it is. We got up and walked out. Pretty simple. There was no disruption, no nothing. I was cited for disorderly conduct and escorted to the front to sign out. That's important as well. So this is where it gets crazy. I hope you guys are ready for this. So this far left prosecutor, and I encourage you to write his name down, and it's probably on that flyer that I got out there somewhere. His name is Greg Banks. And Jason Rance has done a couple pieces on him. Brandy's done some pieces on him. Ari, did you ever talk about him back in the day when he was doing that stuff?
Spoke a long time ago, Doug, but I'm waiting to have you on the show.
Oh, well, we can talk about that. I need to talk to my attorney, who you might know. And so this guy shows up, and he is the highest level prosecutor in the land, so to speak, for Island County, right? And he comes in and starts prosecuting the lowest possible criminal case of disorderly conduct. That says something in its own right. This guy has publicly said that he believes that Trump supporters are like the KKK. He's made posts to liken in the fact of we should all die. Those are not exact words. I can't give you the exact words, but you guys can look this stuff up. You don't have to take my word for it. And so this guy now is prosecuting the de facto face of MAGA and conservatism in Island County. Why do you think he's doing that? Because I shook the sheriff's hand and walked out? Or because he's trying to make an example of us, right? So he says, if you do not plead guilty to disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing, now get this, in his letter, because Tracy Abel and I, the other lady getting charged with this, another conservative, by the way, we decided to fight it. We weren't going to go down without a fight. I mean, look at me. I'm 57. You know what? 3 years in jail, 3 squares in a cot, and not have to deal with a farm, that might not be so bad, right? So I'm not going down without a fight. But he sends us this letter, and this letter says, for your own good, you need to plead guilty and accept our punishment. It's not verbatim. I'll even give you guys the letter if you want to see it at some point in time. But we need to plead guilty for our own good and accept his punishment. And if we don't, he's going to turn this into a felony. Well, you can imagine what I told him. After 21 years in the Navy and 35 years in service. So, but needless to say, it wasn't a plea of guilty. We'll just go with that. So we stood strong in the gap, Tracy and I, and we're still standing strong in the gap. That goes back to the leadership and following. So now we're both facing these felony charges, jail time and fines. And you guys all know as lawfare goes, the process is almost as bad as a conviction. I mean, we're going to be into this. I just sent the Silent Majority Foundation, which we're going to talk about in a minute, a check for $4,000. I spent thousands of dollars on my personal attorney. This is no joke, you guys. And so I would encourage you to take a look at that flyer I put on the chairs. If you didn't get one, because I didn't realize Doug had this many friends. Just didn't bring enough. Sorry about that. Well, I'll never underestimate you again, big guy. All right. So if you guys can help out, help out. But I want to read a quick statement, and then I'm going to ask a question. And this statement's probably going to be able to help my case, which is kind of cool. Stumbled upon this. I believe in the rule of law. And I'm optimistic that the strength of our legal institutions will ultimately prevail over politics. But baseless and politically motivated investigations wreak havoc on the lives, safety, and financial security of targeted individuals and their families. Even when individuals have done nothing wrong and will ultimately be exonerated, the mere fact of being investigated or prosecuted can irreparably damage their reputations and financing. Any idea who said that? Joe Biden. Joe Biden said that when he pardoned all those people who weren't being charged with a crime yet. I mean, come on, think about this, right? So I'm going to take Joe Biden's statement to court with me. That dude's badass. I mean, no, my Navy talk. Sorry, Doug. Chastise me later. So, but really what I want to do is, it's like I said, it's not about me. I want to bring this back to the root of the issue. And believe it or not, it has nothing to do with masks. The root of the issue has nothing to do with masks. The real question here, and the question we need to be asking ourselves is, what authority does a low-level, or any other politician for that matter, have? Can they dictate what we wear? Can they dictate what we smell like? What kind of car we drive? What kind of cell phone we use? How about excluding, or for that matter, including people based on how short or tall they are? How fat or skinny? What's their race? What do they believe in? You guys see where I'm going. Can they do that? Well, right now they can, because nobody's challenged that in our state. So they can do that. That's the question we have to ask. I believe the real question here is, where do we, East Side Republicans, Island County Republicans, Skagit County Republicans, Snohomish County Republicans, where do we stand? Where do we draw the line? And I say we draw the line right here and right now. With the help of the Silent Majority Foundation and Pete Serrano, we filed a suit against the Island County Auditor's Office, the Canvassing Board, the prosecuting attorney himself, which is going to cause an issue in the criminal trial, mind you. It's Haslow versus Island County, and we're specifically asking the court to find this limit for us. What can or can't an elected official do? Now you guys say, hey, Island County, it's an outlying county, it's in the middle of nowhere. Who cares? What happens in Island County just happens in Island County. I'm here to tell you that this decision is going to have long-lasting ramifications moving forward. It's going to affect every county in this state, 39 counties. It's going to affect you, Lois. Doug, it's going to affect you. Our city council guy, it's going to affect him. It's going to affect all of us. It's going to affect the state and how they do business. And it's also probably going to set precedents on a national level based on how other states and other politicians do it. So we need to make sure that we join in with the Silent Majority Foundation and fight this fight as hard as we can possibly fight it. So this really goes all the way back to our founding fathers and documents, and it resonates all the way up to now. Imagine if back during the British days, we didn't challenge authority. We just took it. Come on, man, give me another. Or in the Navy, thank you, sir, may I have another? Right? Imagine that. Imagine where we'd be today. This is an argument that's been going on for coming up on 250 years here in a couple of years. Congratulations, United States of America. Still the greatest nation on God's green earth, right? Congratulations. But this goes all the way back to this argument between enumerated powers versus implied powers. Constitutional stuff, you guys can look it up, but the reality is we gave the government certain things that they can do, certain things they can dictate. Now, they've way overstepped it. Right. I mean, we can make it real simple, right? We can say this is an argument between the power we, the people, gave to the government versus the power that this government has stolen from us over the last 40 or 50 years. Once again, I can't emphasize enough that people like us, sheriffs, elected officials, everyday people, who want their children to have freedom, who want their children to live the American dream, you guys got to get up and get involved, or risk losing more and more of your freedoms and rights to an overbearing government. I'm going to be around for questions, but I'm going to close with this. It's one thing to go to a dinner, to go to an event, to go out and wave signs on the street corner. It's one thing to do that and get upset about the issues that are out there driving us insane, putting our friends and family in jail, stealing our money in property taxes. It's one thing to go and get angry about it. It's a whole other thing to get involved and do something about it. So I want you guys to look at that flyer. Once again, I wish I would have brought more. They're floating around in here. Take a look at that flyer on your table and get in the fight. Get in the fight, you guys. Because I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm probably going to go down in a blaze of glory, but I've had a great life, and you know what? It's worth the fight for me.
You got it.
It's worth the fight for me. So get in the fight, you guys. Help us, help the Silent Majority Foundation, help you. Share this everywhere you can. Get us in contact with media people that can spread this word. I sent letters to every cabinet member, certified mail. I just got notice today that they were all received, so we'll see what happens. I don't know. Maybe Pam Bondi will pay us a visit. I don't know. But get involved. And if you can, donate to the Silent Majority Fund and donate to the Criminal Fund. Because both those things are going to help us. But the biggest thing you guys can do, and if you take nothing else from my speech or my talk, and it's not about me, guys, it's about us. But if you take nothing else from this, be leaders, not followers.
Right.
Don't sit down and shut up and take it. Lead the fight. Get with the people who are leading the fight. Support the people who are leading the fight. Get involved. And by God, please, God, help us stand in the gap between craziness and sanity. Good night, you guys. I appreciate it.